Marty Simpson's with us. Marty's been in Pittsburgh more than several times. He always makes us laugh. He's still been touring the country, whether it's in Texas or we're not, and out there talking about life. Marty, how you doing, friend?
What is going on, everybody? The Pittsburgh area is one of my favorite places to go and be and stuff. So,
you say that to everybody?
Not really. Okay. Not really. I am willing to lie to people about it. But I don't say that very, very often to people. But Pittsburgh is one of my favorite places. But you guys were great. This was, I can't believe it was just 1 year ago. Wasn't it like Valentine's Day one year ago?
Yes, it was.
That was crazy. When Kathy was claiming.
You and Mike and John and I spent Valentine's Day together, which wasn't quite as romantic as any of us hoped, really.
Right.
I know. And Kathy was like going to leave. And she like bailed on the show. And then I said, well, just stay for 10 minutes and decide.
Yeah.
And then I think you stayed for the whole thing, right?
I did, yes, because it was very funny and you talked me into it, whatever.
Yeah. And then you went out to dinner with Mike for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. But like, this is what I do on the road right here is my like a virtual show. So I'm going to give you all an example of my little virtual show that's going on right here.
I like
it. Also, let me do this real quick. This is going to be like an unprofessional little thing I'm going to jump to here. But it's when I start my show, when I start my shows, I have this little QR code. So wait, it should change over. There it is.
Look at that.
So there's this like QR code right here that if you put your phone up to the screen and scan that QR code, then you can like laugh along with the show. Like I have like a built-in app that I'm like nerd and I geeked out and I coded it myself and everything.
You have a laugh app.
Yes. So watch this. Like go to that. If you put your QR code up there, and then I'm gonna change it back here. Let me get the Let me get this. I know this is like I'm like not doing this quickly. We should have done this in rehearsal and whatnot, but
all the time we rehearse for the radio program.
Now I'm gonna go back over to my main scene and put this cue card on my face. So now if you get that QR code rolling, you can yes, I think that Mike had it there. So you can actually hit the laugh button and you'll see these laughs appear like right up here on the screen. Where are they? They should be on the screen, except I don't. Yep, there they are. So somebody's
look at the laughing.
Okay.
How cool is that? And the longer you hold it, the longer it simulates laughs. So if you're out there watching the show and you want to hit this QR code and you want to laugh along with the show, then that's brought to you by the technology experts at martysimpson.com.
Nice.
So great.
It's a visual representation then of laughter, huh?
Yes, it is, because I have to do this virtual comedy and then you stare into the void of like the
right.
Yeah. Is anybody with me?
Yeah. So we have like 1,100 people in a webinar my last show, and I think 20 people from the organization were in the Zoom call part of it that could be heard and laughing. And so what I like to do is I put them in this little view right here. I go to this little view, which y'all are getting ready to show up in. So that's y'all. So y'all are like in my view right now. I'm reaching behind Kathy's screen right now.
Yeah.
And tapping the back of her head. This might be viewers doing the oops, I'm pointing the wrong way, doing the loving and laughing and everything. But we had like 20 people, and but they were really loud and they had to unmute themselves because of the technology of it. So we ended up with like 1,100 people and 0 people laughing out loud.
Oh, see, that's really terrible.
Rough. Okay, but the good news is, Marty, I mean, look, musicians, actors, not, they're not making a living, but somehow you found a way to make it through the pandemic.
I did. This is like a collision of all of my worlds. Like I'm kind of a geek that does some coding and a video game geek. And then I don't know if America knew this or not, but March 15th, when COVID started, the gamers took over the universe on the internet because they've been live streaming for like 15 years. I was hoping
someone had taken over the universe.
Yeah,
I know. Did y'all know it was March 15th? When we look at the history books 50 years from now, 100 years from now, it'll be March 15th because that's when Tom Hanks announced that he had COVID.
Right.
So that's going to be the star date of when all it happens, because I was in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and coming home, and I got home and told my 18-year-old son, I was like, we got to go buy like toilet paper or something because Forrest Gump just said he had COVID and South Carolina's going to lose their mind.
Yeah.
And so we bought like $2,000, Kathy. I bought like $2,000 worth of supplies and toilet paper that night, and $17 of that was spent on 9.5 years worth of ramen noodles.
How many have you used?
We're about halfway through, John. We're about halfway through with that stuff.
Okay, now listen,
my
Marty.
son was like, Go ahead.
I'm sorry to break in because I just wanted you to know that on that. So around that date, John and Mike and I were talking about the preparations we'd made for COVID because, of course, the three of us are very stupid and we don't really know anything about what's happening. And so I said to the guys, what have you done to prepare for this virus? And Mike said, I bought ammunition. And he said, what did you buy? And I said, I have 6 dozen limes. And I said to John, what do you have? And he said, a carton of fruit cocktail. Which is like the worst possible COVID precaution that you could take between the three of us. So.
I'm still here.
Well, my son said, Dad, you should buy 2 cases of like pork and beans. And I was like, I've got like 30 cases left over from my Y2K prep. So we're good on the pork and beans.
Right.
I don't think pork and beans have an expiration date. So we're solid.
Which is good. Fine. That's a plus.
Until the next virus comes our way, the pork and beans will last. Marty Simpson's with us. Marty, people want to find you on the web. You're out there, right?
I am. Here's where you can find me right here. If you're watching on Zoom, it's martysimpson.com. I've got it on the screen right there.
Very nice.
So this is, I pivoted to virtual comedy because I was doing Marty's Hang Time, which is my online virtual show, interviewing comedians and the occasional sports person and stuff. So, and then I started learning the technology about it and then realizing the Zoom calls were terrible for people. And so I started getting paid to do virtual comedy. And I like to tell people that virtual comedy is a good way to really find out how to feel as a comedian, because I've always heard that comedians are like depressed and feel bad about themselves and everything. But then as a Christian comedian, I've never really come at it from that angle. But just do a couple of virtual shows and you feel really dead inside. That is, I mean, if you ever felt like you needed Jesus, just go to like a virtual comedy show and tell your punchline and then stare into the void.
That sounds horrible.
That's
oh my
terrible.
God. It really does.
Marty,
Okay, now look,
terrible.
but you have been back, right? I mean, the road beckons to you once again, does it not?
Yes, I actually went to Cup of Joy in Green Bay, Wisconsin. If y'all are familiar with those guys, they're awesome ministry, and they're like a comedy club for Christian comedians and stuff. And a lot of the people that come through y'all's shows have done that. I did Nebraska, a couple of live shows in Nebraska at an awesome church. I've done a number of comedy clubs, which I'm not going to use bad words in this, but there was some bad words in what I was told. I arrived on the scene in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I watched the comedy club owner update his fantasy football roster back in October, and the name of his team was Masks Are for Blank, and you can just fill in the blank with what he had up there. And it you know, there's like 5 or 6 right answers there that could be foul language for your listeners, but I'm not going to say it on the air on the radio station. But he was not concerned with any of the protocols or half capacities, or I mean, it was like Friday, Saturday, Sunday sold out shows. I was like giving everybody elbow bumps because I don't know where y'all are on it, but I was 100% in 2 camps, like not 50-50. I was 100% in one camp and 100% in another camp, which was, I thought the whole thing was a political scam that was made up. And I was also terrified to leave the house. Those existed. Both of those worlds existed for me at the same time.
Yes, Marty.
So when I would go to these live shows, I would bring my own microphone. I would start my set by making a joke about how I feel like the guy opening before me might have all sorts of diseases in addition to COVID, so I don't want to catch those from the microphone. And then I would say, feel free to buy my T-shirts after the show because they've been cryogenically sealed in a safe place for the last 4 months. My trunk of my car, and the only person that's interacted with them there in my trunk is still in there, and he's been there longer than 14 days. So you're safe from any problems about my T-shirts. But
oh my gosh,
what I found was the people who would go out to a comedy club, Kathy, don't care at all. They weren't nervous about the virus. They weren't anything. So the people who stay home are the ones who end up in the virtual comedy, and that's been a blessing too. The virtual comedy. I did 30 shows in December.
Holy cow, really?
On virtual. I had 3 shows on one day.
What?
On the day of a live show, I had a show in Scotland on at 9 a.m. I had to go to the church where I was doing the show, set up in their conference room, and then do my live streaming show for those companies in Scotland.
Wait, so who's the audience, Marty?
And are the Scottish laughing?
It's companies.
Are they
like
laughers?
corporate. Oh, they were fantastic.
Okay, good.
They made brutal fun of Americans, and especially the way we were handling COVID at the time, I think was mostly what they were making fun of.
Okay.
But it's corporations, John, like that, like Dell Computers have a sales team in 15 different states or whatever, and they have a weekly Zoom call. And so they'll pay illusionists and comedians to come in and entertain them. So it was really my agent.
Yeah. And in the past, Marty, you've had to travel, right? You're like, you're driving or flying all over the country. This has got to, help reduce wear and tear doing it from your church.
Absolutely. And I actually do my shows from home, but that show I had in Scotland I was in Nebraska doing a live show. And of course, my agent at the time, who's awesome, thegrabelgroup.com, Tim Grable is a fantastic agent. He's wonderful. He's changed my life for the better. But he was like, hey, I booked you a virtual show while you're in Nebraska. And so he didn't ask me if I wanted to do that. He just puts them on my calendar to get us all a little bit of money. And so I had to do that. But the travel has been great. I don't know if y'all have traveled during COVID, but Delta, it's a ghost town in the airport. I love it. I would have voted for mandatory masks 12 years ago on an airplane. I'm tired of getting coughed on by girls. I know my conservative friends are like, Marty, masks are stupid. I'm like, yeah, but I don't like mucus. So
who likes mucus?
I don't like the little girl behind me coughing the whole flight. I'm just sitting there I pull my hood over my thing and I'm looking around and of course everybody who's international travelers have had the masks on forever, but I'm not going to debate the science. I know some places they talk about the masks are worse or better or whatever. I'm just saying, if you cough and mucus, if I feel droplets hit me, there's worse things that you can get than just COVID. So I like the idea. And then right when the whole thing shut down, I had one more flight, and it was when all the shelves were empty of no product, no Purell. Remember that month where there was no Purell to be had? Well, I literally went to the CDC website and I downloaded the list of 500 products that would kill the virus or whatever. And one of them, I'm not making this up, was a pet dander shampoo for dogs. And it was known to kill these viruses. And I went to Lowe's here in town, or not Lowe's, it was Target. And I found this pet supply thing, and I put it in a small bottle, and I was spraying it all over my my Delta Comfort seats on that flight.
That's awesome.
And everybody was looking at me like I was a moron, and I was wiping it down. And then I told the stewardess what was going on, and then 5 people during the flight came over to me like, "Can I spray my chair down with your pet dander thing and everything?" So I was like.
Yeah, so that's funny. I mean, tough times make tough decisions, right? So you're making it work.
Yeah. I think people are using my little app. I'm so proud. They're doing that. Unless that's just Mike just clicking it for me, because that's what I do. I can cheat. I can laugh at myself during my shows.
Marty Simpson's with us. He's a comedian. He was in town right before the shutdown here in the city of Pittsburgh, and so we've kept that friendship alive. Marty's been telling us in his stories about working as a comedian virtually during the lockdown. But Marty, even virtually, people have to leave the house occasionally. You were out and about doing live events. Talk to us about the time you were in Arkansas recently.
I went to the Grove in Arkansas. If you're ever traveling, the Grove is an unbelievable comedy club. The owner does an amazing job. It's just like the fantasy land for comedians. Perfect setup. And he actually was abiding by very strict standards of the COVID stuff, which I didn't know this. I feel ashamed that I didn't know this, but the town I went to, Northwest Arkansas, Fayetteville area, was like the home of Walmart and the home of Tyson Chicken. And there's 5 or 6 huge companies that are there. And I think it's a lot of the Clinton money or whatever that. I don't know exactly what happened, but this guy was a huge higher up in Walmart and then became a consultant. So he has some independent money himself. So he was able to bless comedians and pay some comedians to come in and do small shows, but pay them their rate and everything. But the Grove was just awesome. So I went right when the big winter storm hit Texas and Arkansas, but Arkansas didn't make the media as much as Texas did, because I don't think that their governor flew to Mexico. But I'm not going to make political jokes
for another time.
Yeah, exactly. But so I actually was riffing with the comedy club, and I said, what is the deal with the Grove in Arkansas and all the snow on the ground? I came to Arkansas and there's snow everywhere. I feel like Bill and Hillary must have come home to visit, and she's like the White Witch from Narnia, and she brought the cold back with her. And, and I was like, and she had the Turkish delight, and I was like, I want some so much, and she was like, no, I have to give one to everyone equally. So no, it was that was an applause break there. I was a little nervous to step on Bill and Hillary in Arkansas like that.
How'd you do with that?
No, it was a huge applause break. It was.
Oh, good. Okay.
There's a video on my Facebook you can check out if you go to martysimpson.com.
Okay, now wait. So go back. So then you just told a story about a guy who was like, following protocol. Another club you were at, they weren't following protocol.
Correct.
What's it like to do a show? And you're looking at, you're standing there alone on stage, and you're looking for that feedback. So you can't see if someone's wearing a mask. You can't see the bottom part of their face. Are they laughing? Are they just checked out? What's that do to you?
Well, I will say this. The restaurant protocols are that when you sit down, you can take your mask off when you're eating. So I would say about 10% of the people left their mask on for the shows. Okay. And I did the shows I did in churches, and the churches have skirted the protocols because a lot of church worship wasn't being applied. Like the protocols weren't applying to churches in some states, but some churches would follow the protocols as a way to witness to their community, and some would just ignore the protocols as a way to witness to their community. I'm not sure exactly, but so we did do a church show where they all had masks on.
Don't you worry.
Yes, I don't care one way or the other. My son has an autoimmune deficiency. He has juvenile arthritis, but he's an 18-year-old athlete and he's a stud, but he has an autoimmune issue. So I've taken the protocols very, very seriously because he's in a category that even though, it's 0.00001, whatever for people 18 and under, we've just been nervous that if he got it, his doctor specialist said he wasn't really at high risk, but he's in a category medically that made me nervous. So I just,
so just in case.
Yeah, but I don't care. It's almost like don't ask, don't tell. I'm like, I don't care what you do with your mask policy. I'm going to wear the mask, and I'm going to stay 6 or 10 feet away from you. Sure. And if you are a person that wants to get up on my space, I'm going to walk away from you. Like, and had you known me 5 years ago, I was doing that to you before, and you never noticed.
Without the mask.
Right. But
and if you didn't do it outside, you were probably doing it inside.
Yes. Right. But to answer your question, John, people with masks on laughing is kind of a bummer. The one show we did do where everybody was masked up, you could really tell the difference, and it was just kind of a bummer. And but for the most part, people come in pods, and so the families will sit together, and the families will be socially distanced from each other. So the places having the shows are very cognizant of what makes it successful or not. But you're doing these shows in 1,000-seat places for 300 people, and that's a little bit of an energy weird, or a 200-seat place for 60 people. And so the best case for comedy is a 50-seater with 58 people,
people hugging
or a 1,000-seater with 1,100 people. Like you want just a little over capacity. And I mean, I picked a bad time to spend 17 years of my life figuring out a way to get people in a small room, sit close to each other, and if I do my job really well, they cough on each other. That was
we're talking with the comedian Marty Simpson. Look for him online at martysimpson.com. Okay, Marty, just a couple minutes left, but you're ready to hit the road, right? I mean, things are going to loosen up here. People are getting vaccinated, whatever, right? We're going to take those masks and go, see you later, man. Let's go out there and live our lives again. It's good for you.
Yes, I can't wait. I mean, it's every live show that I've done has been like an oasis in the desert. I start every live show by thanking the audience for their reckless behavior by coming out to the show. And
that's good.
Because it's a huge blessing to me. And I say I'm praying for you now, but I hope that you laugh enough to where there's like a little spike in your area statistically.
Nothing dangerous.
No, that's good. Just a little tiny one. That's all. Yeah.
No. And if you have a pre-existing condition and you're at this show, that's on you. That's God's will in your life that you decided to come out to this show. That's not on me.
It's very funny.
That's not on me.
Marty, thanks for stopping by. Really, you are a funny
Thank y'all.
guy.
Anytime.
Yeah,
Look forward to you coming
fun.
back to Pittsburgh, man. Okay, let's go and hang out together and have a few laughs.
It's awesome. Can't wait.
Yeah, our pleasure. Marty Simpson online, martysimpson.com. You want to laugh? Yeah, and plus he's got this special laugh app. That's very cool as well.
I like it.
martysimpson.com.